suit? You know, it's 110 degrees outside. Is it kind of like a feng shui kind of deal with you, or?
That's too big of a word for me, feng shui. I've worn it for so long. I think it's just kind of what I naturally do. I think early on, I think I was trying to keep a lot of older coaches that I know that, they get little spots on them and all that stuff, and then I kind of got used to it, and now you get a good sweat in and all that stuff. You lose a couple pounds through it as well. So it's just kind of what I do. So, did it the last 3 years in Mobile, done it for years before that. So it is what it is.
How much weight did you lose yesterday?
You know what? I think I lost 7 pounds, but I try to gain it back. You want to lose a little bit of weight, but you want to do it a little bit at a time.
Jeff Allen trying to keep you hydrated, or how's that work?
Yeah, it's a full team effort right now.
Kane, you've talked before about the importance of instincts for this defense and guys to have that. How would you assess the instincts of some of the guys who are rushing the pass or some of those edge defenders?
Well, I think there's natural instincts, right, that are built into young men, right, and then there's developed. I don't know if instinct is the right word, right, but they hone in on their skills and they start to have an instinct for the scheme and what we do defensively. And the way we're structurally built is we want to allow our guys to be able to break on the ball, to play with some vision at times. And when you play with instinctive vision, the windows start to get really tighter. So people have a misconception of vision coverage, right, that it's all this space out there. Really what you're doing is you're taking away the grass and the people that the quarterback is wanting to get the ball to, right? And so you see our players naturally starting to get a little bit more matchy with some of their coverage when we play some of our vision style coverages, and then just having a better feel for our defense. If you look at us last season and you look at us in the spring, I didn't think we started particularly well on defense early in games, and then we started to hit our stride as the game went on. We've really encouraged our guys to start playing, not on their heels, but be the aggressor early, and that means playing with some instincts, and I think we're seeing that.
When it comes to pressure off the edge, who do you see filling those roles in your scheme, and how do you feel like it's progressing as a whole this one?
Well, I think, you look at pressure a number of different ways, right? Some of it is just natural. Can we go 4 down and be able to, create pressure on the quarterback off the edge? We are very focused on takeaways here and creating takeaways. And you create takeaways by creating pressure on the quarterback, right? We looked at all 7. There was like 751 takeaways in the NFL last season, all right? And out of those, right, the vast majority of them come from the pressure on the quarterback, whether they hit the quarterback, got hands on the quarterback, or they were able to put him in an uncomfortable position to where he forced to throw. And so for us, I think we've got some guys naturally that can do that off the edge. To me, Jamarian Latham, LT Overton, I think I've seen a lot out of that Wolf room right now. I think Keanu Coate, Quay Russaw, Q Robinson are doing some great things. And then you've got some younger guys like Yanze Pierre that are starting to step up. Keon Keeley off the edge of the field and Jordan Renard. I mean, I've really been pleased with some of the rush that we've been able to create. And then naturally, our backers and safeties have a lot of instinctive what we call blitz awareness. We look for that whenever we're recruiting players. Does a second level player, have great blitz awareness? And I think we have that from a couple of our safeties and backers.
We didn't see LT the last 2 practices. Everything's okay with him?
Yeah, he's not feeling well right now, but I think he'll be back in a day or 2. So.
What do you feel about Jalen Mbagwe, how he's been able to come in and just really just embrace that freshness, but also the high level that's coming into the scene and everything like that?
I think one of the biggest intangibles about playing the defensive back position is having an edge and just a confidence in the way that you play the game. And anybody that's watched Bach in the last few years of high school know the way he plays the game, and he really carried his team right to a state championship. And I've been so impressed with just his level of confidence, not really playing the position day in and day out of high school, but the strides that he's made from spring ball to where he is right now. I would argue that he's made as many strides as anybody in our defense.
To have a transfer like Keon Saab come in from Michigan, how has he fit the second game?
Well, Keon is a very special talent. Obviously, he had some tremendous production, at Michigan, won a national championship there. And we were very fortunate to be able to have that production and that experience, because experience is finite, right? And so for us, I think he has done a really good job of leaning into our scheme, what we do. I thought from day one, week one, he did a really great job of going the extra mile to get the verbiage and the terminology down so that he could go execute and play at a high level. And now you see him starting to lead on the back end. Him, Malachi Moore, I think those guys are doing a tremendous job of communication on the back end.
Coach, can you describe what you've seen out of the depth in the inside linebacker room behind Jihad Campbell and Deontay Lawson, how you've seen them grow and maybe how ready those guys are if they have to play?
Well, I think one of the things that you look at for great leadership, right, is to bring the people underneath you to the level that you think they are capable of, and that you set that example. And I think Deontay and Jihad have done a tremendous job of that. I think Justin Jefferson had an unbelievable spring, and I think he's had an even better summer and really going into fall camp. I would say Justin Jefferson is right there with those other two guys. I think we have three starter-type linebackers from that position, so very impressed with him. It's kind of one of those classic cases, right? You get a guy from junior college that first year, sometimes the learning curve is a little bit challenging, right? And then all of a sudden a year later, right, they're showing tremendous production, and obviously he's a very gifted athlete. But I've been impressed with some of those younger guys as well. I think Jeremiah Alexander is starting to take steps forward in the right direction. He's played the jack position in the last couple of years and making that transition to inside linebacker. Those are two different worlds, all right? You can't just sit there and say, well, I'm going to move this guy from here to here. You got to rep that. You got to work that. And then I've been very impressed with J.O., with Justin Okoronkwo, excuse me. That's a hard one. I had to work at that in front of the mirror a couple of times to get that right. But I've been really impressed with some of the things he's been doing as well.
You spoke
How
about
pleased were you with the additions in that secondary over the spring portal window? And what does a guy like Deshaun Jones with the experience bring at cornerback?
Yeah, I think, again, we talk about how experience is finite, right? So if you can find it somewhere, right, it obviously is great to have on your roster. I think Day-Day's doing a really great job. He has really changed his body. You think about seniors and guys that, that are maybe a little further down in their career, that may not be able to push quite as far as the development of a freshman. But I thought he's made tremendous strides in 8 weeks in terms of changing the makeup of his body. I think he's playing very fast right now. He seems to be playing with confidence in the first couple of days. Again, time will tell, right, of those guys that have not played, in the SEC the last couple of years across the board, whether they can handle those things. But I think they are taking steps in the right direction against what I would argue some very good skill players on our offensive side right now.
You spoke about pressure. Do you feel that your defense kind of opens up things for like Tim Smith and the defensive tackles that can kind of like with more bodies up front, maybe get some more pressure up the middle?
Well, I think schematically, everyone has a personality, right? And our personality in this defense over the last few years is to create pressure, and pressure allows you to create takeaways. And we are a defense that wants to have production from the defensive line room, right? We're not going to be a stagnant, eat-up block style defense. At times, right, do we have to take on blocks? Absolutely. And you're going to take on double teams. And here that's 700 pounds, right, that you're dealing with, okay? But there are times, right, where we're going to create movement, we're going to create pressure. We're going to get our best pass rushers matched up in one-on-one against their weakest links, right? So that, to me, are the creative things that we've always kind of hung our hat on, of being able to find the weakest link on offense, right, and be able to expose that through one-on-one matchups, sometimes with the defensive line.
Speaking of that,
D-line, it's nice to have Jaheim Otis back out there. And what does he kind of bring to the table?
Well, it's exciting to see Jaheim. Jaheim is from right down the road where I grew up. He's from Columbia, Mississippi. I grew up in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and so I've known Jaheim for a long time. But very pleased with the way he's taking care of his body in the offseason. Jaheim was, I think, maybe 415 pounds when he got here as a freshman. And think about how easy that would have been for him to, climb the ladder back up the wrong way when you're injured and you're not going through all the workouts and you're some of the mobility issues. I think he did a tremendous job of taking care of his body. He stayed in the weight room. He stayed in the meeting rooms, learning our defense. And so far, I have seen him pick things up pretty quickly.
Coach, who do you feel like is sticking out to you in the quarterback position, kind of making similar
Well, I think, to me, right off the bat, Damani Jackson, Xavier Brown have been really impressive. I think if you look at Jalen Mbakwe, he has probably made the greatest strides over the last 6 months. And then, I would say all three of those freshmen, Xavier Brown, Jalen Mbakwe, and then Xavier Mincy, I think are taking steps in the right direction. And then, of course, Day-Day, great to have him, from Wake Forest.
Coach, what about a guy like James Smith, who came from Montgomery? Where has he grown in this defensive line?
Well, James is very talented, and he does a tremendous job, of when he gets a one-on-one matchup, he takes advantage of it. His encouragement has been to continue to lean into the consistency of our scheme. You have to be able to play within the framework of the defense, right? And those are the things that I think we're seeing, that he's making strides from where he was in the springtime to where he is right now. But again, consistency has to be proven over a long period of time, and so that is yet to be seen. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank
Roll
you.
Tide.